Who isn't familiar with the billionaire business magnate and investor Elon Musk? At the age of just 51, he has an estimated net worth of about $210 billion. This makes him the wealthiest person in the world, according to Bloomberg Billionaires Index and Forbes Real-Time Billionaires list. The tech genius and angel investor behind Tesla is also the founder of Spacex, the aerospace manufacturer and space transport services company that was launched in 2002. Spacex manufactures spacecraft, provides space launch, and is also a satellite communication corporation. The most popular products of the company include the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy launch vehicles, several rocket engines, Cargo Dragon, crew spacecraft, and Starlink communications satellite. The Starlink satellite internet constellation has launched multiple missions into outer space, and it's only natural for space enthusiasts to keenly watch the footage of such events. And as it turns out, some of these missions aboard various spacecrafts owned by SpaceX have run into unidentified objects that many think could indicate the presence of aliens out there. Just recently, Elon Musk revealed that one of the SpaceX cameras keeps detecting something unbelievably huge during their missions, and they're not sure what it exactly is. Starlink by SpaceX provides satellite internet access coverage to 40 different countries, and it's aiming to provide global mobile service by the year 2023 also. The satellites were launched back in 2019, and as of September 2022, Starlink consists of more than 3,000 mass-produced small satellites in low Earth orbit. These communicate with designated ground transceivers. The company is hoping to deploy about 12,000 satellites, with a possible extension to a whopping 42,000 in the near future. Since June 2022, Starlink has been providing internet access to more than 500,000 subscribers. The satellite development facility of SpaceX is located in Redmond, Washington. It also houses the Starlink Research Center, manufacturing, and orbit control teams. Before the launch, SpaceX calculated the cost of this decade-long project aimed at designing, building, and deploying the constellation to be around $10 billion. This may seem like a lot, but the company expects more than $30 billion in revenue by 2025. Some astronomers were concerned about the effects these constellations could have on ground-based astronomy. They also raised the point that the satellites will only add to the already congested orbital environment. As an attempt to mitigate these concerns, SpaceX made several upgrades and alterations to the Starlink satellites in order to reduce their brightness during operation. Between February 2018 and 2022, SpaceX has launched about 2,099 satellites into orbit. In March 2020, they reported that the company was producing 6 satellites every single day. The internet provided by Starlink is far superior to that of traditional satellite internet, as Starlink is a global network that isn't limited by the infrastructure limitations on the ground. The company is hoping to provide high-speed internet access to places where it was previously difficult to provide. A single Starlink satellite weighs around 260 kilograms. These were intended to remain in low Earth orbit at an altitude of around 1,100 kilometers. The first large deployment in May 2019 included 60 satellites weighing at 227 kilos each. These were placed at a relatively low 550 kilometers because of the space environment concerns. These satellites employ optical inter-satellite links and phased array beamforming and digital processing technologies in the Ku and Ka bands. The early satellites were launched without laser links that were later successfully tested in late 2020. The deployment of the initial 1,440 satellites was planned in 72 orbital planes of 20 satellites each. Starlink is also planning to launch Starlink satellites on Starship, a currently under development rocket of SpaceX with a much greater payload capability. Elon Musk himself described these satellites as looking like small flat UFOs. And Starlink has now announced that from now onwards, only Starship will be the launch vehicle they will employ in the launch of the much bigger Starlink version 2.0. Now, during one of the satellite launches of Starlink, the viewers enjoying the massive accomplishment noticed something strange in the background. To most people who noticed it, the object looked like a massive cigar, was apparently flying alongside the rocket. This is definitely not the first time one of the many SpaceX cameras have detected what could be an unidentified flying object. Almost every time the company launches a rocket into space, the enthusiastic audience manages to spot some sort of weird and out-of-place object in the footage. A lot of people managed to take pictures and screenshots of the object from the video. This quick thinking provided us with the evidence that something was actually visible near the rocket, otherwise it could have been missed owing to the high speed with which it moved and didn't stay in frame for more than a second or two. Most of the people who spotted the cigar-like object were pretty excited, were almost entirely convinced that it was a UFO. The images went viral, and everyone was asking the internet about this weird cylindrical object in the frame. Most experts dismiss the object as space debris, but the alien enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists tend to have a mind of their own in such cases. And owing to the recurrent appearance of such strange objects in various other videos from outer space, they were not willing to disregard it as something as trivial as garbage in space. The discovery of this unknown cylindrical object flying past the rocket has prompted many to carefully observe the other launch videos, and they're also looking forward to scrutinizing any footage from the upcoming launches to make sure they don't miss out on any upcoming appearances of the huge spooky object. After all, they come across these UFOs quite frequently. Back in April 2022, NASA and SpaceX successfully launched 4 astronauts into orbit on board the SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft. The launch was pretty uneventful, except for one small incident. The crew experienced a huge scare while they were traveling to the International Space Station. They were informed regarding a potential collision with an unidentified object by the US Space Command. The object was being tracked and classified as unknown. According to Kelly Humphreys, a NASA spokesperson, there was no time to perform an avoidance maneuver to get the spacecraft out of the object's path. So SpaceX advised the astronauts to put on their pressurized belts in case a collision did occur. Humphreys stated, the possibility of the conjunction came so close to the closest approach time that there wasn't any time to compute and execute a debris avoidance maneuver with confidence. According to US Space Command spokesperson Erin Dick, the Pentagon notified NASA about the potential collision almost 7 hours after the spacecraft launched. However, after further analysis, the 18th Space Control Squadron found out that there was no conjunction threat and all the astronauts aboard the spacecraft were safe. The unidentified object's closest approach was just 45 kilometers from the spacecraft, not exactly alarming to the point of panicking, but close enough for concern. Another event that sent social media into a frenzy occurred in April 2022. Thousands reshared a clip of what looked like a swirling ball of light gliding over the Mauna Kea summit. The footage was captured by a live stream camera mounted on the Subaru telescope around 5 p.m. A lot of the viewers thought this was some sort of a flying whirlpool and were convinced that it was connected to an extraterrestrial spacecraft. But experts like J.D. Armstrong, an education and outreach specialist at the University of Hawaii Institute for Astronomy, knew better. He immediately dismissed these far-reaching theories and explained to the netizens online that this was in no way associated with an unidentified flying object or a secret alien visit. The strange formation in the sky was part of the Falcon 9 rocket launched by SpaceX earlier that day from Vandenberg Space Force Base of California. Armstrong pointed out that this was the upper stage of the rocket. It's like the second section up, and as they're burning off fuel, it looks like this upper stage is spiraling end over end and tumbling, and thereby creating a spiral pattern similar to a pinwheel firework in the sky. Unidentified objects have been quite generous with their visits to the SpaceX rockets because their appearance in the footage of the company's cameras isn't a new trend. Back when the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket exploded during a test firing in 2016, some UFO enthusiasts who examined the footage spotted a mysterious flying object pretty close to it. The best footage of the rocket explosion was provided by a non-profit video production company called US Launch Report. They captured the event with a zoom lens from a safe distance. It was published on YouTube on the 1st of September 2016 and immediately caught the eye of alien enthusiasts. The flying object in the video was definitely real. If the video is slowed down, a dark object flying across the screen, starting at the right-hand side and moving toward the rocket is visible. That's also when the Falcon 9 exploded. By definition, the mystery object was a UFO. Some of the overexcited online conspiracy theorists suggested that the object was some kind of alien object or maybe a drone attack. But people with a more realistic approach have pointed out that it was probably a bird, a flying insect, a frisbee, or even a far-off plane. Mike Wagner, a producer with US Launch Report, tweeted about the object and said of the SpaceX anomaly, "Apparently, all the UFO folks have never seen a bird. It's a more plausible theory, to be honest." After rewatching the video multiple times, many others also conceded that the alleged UFO appears both before and after the explosion, and many were able to count several other flying objects in the distance that were most likely birds. There are also a few insects zooming around closer to the camera lens. And SpaceX isn't the only one to film the cigar-shaped anomaly. As it turns out, these have been witnessed in multiple videos from space. Long before the SpaceX camera captured the weird cylindrical appearance, footage from NASA also featured a similar object. UFO enthusiasts spotted yet another alien ship close to the International Space Station back in 2016. They thought its shape resembled that of a cigar. Many believed that this long cylindrical alien ship may have visited us before. Scott C. Waring, a tireless alien spotter, found the object in NASA's feed from the space station. He was also the one to point out that the object bore an uncanny resemblance to a supposed vehicle seen near the Space Shuttle Atlantis in 2006. Like most other UFO sighting incidents, the UFO spotters neglected to report the more logical explanations for these objects seen in space. Scott is quite adamant that aliens do exist and have been making appearances in our solar system from time to time. He said, "As I was watching, I noticed a long cylindrical object floating alongside and below the space station. Its speed was matched with the ISS, but the object was semi-transparent. Unfortunately for him, the screen went blue just as he thought it was about to come into focus. According to him, that's what happens when NASA catches a UFO on camera. They just cut the feed for a few minutes." He also said that the strange cigar-shaped object reminded him of the cylinder UFO and orbs seen on CNN back in 2006 near the Space Shuttle Atlantis. However, that object was also followed by 5 to 10 grey metal orbs that did not appear this time. It seems like cigar-shaped objects are a space favorite. Another apparently cigar-like object called the Oumuamua was spotted speeding through our solar system back in 2017. Astronomers were uncertain on how to classify it, but were quite confident that it wasn't an alien spaceship. Its strange shape and motion did, however, prompt some scientists to assume the Oumuamua was some kind of alien technology, perhaps exploring the cosmos. It was, after all, the first object from another star system that wandered into ours. But after scrutinizing the data, an international team of researchers concluded that there was no compelling evidence to favor an alien explanation. It was formally designated 1I 2017 U1. Oumuamua was discovered by Robert Werrick with the help of the Pan-STARRS telescope at the Haleakala Observatory, Hawaii on October 19, 2017, almost 40 days after it passed its closest point to the Sun on September 9th. When it was first spotted, Oumuamua was about 33 million kilometers from Earth and already speeding away from the Sun. Scientists tracked the reddish object from October 14, 2016 till January 2, 2018, after which it became too faint to detect even with the most powerful telescope. The Oumuamua was estimated to be around 800 meters long. University of Maryland astronomer and co-leader of the research paper published in Nature Astronomy, Matthew Knight, stated that their key finding was that Oumuamua's properties were consistent with a natural origin and an alien explanation was unwarranted. If it had made a sudden, unexplainable turn, then they would certainly have investigated more on the alien spacecraft front. The name Oumuamua comes from the native Hawaiian language and means a messenger arriving from a great distance. Knight also explained that it wasn't easy to fit this object into familiar classifications like comet or asteroid. They avoided putting it in one of those boxes and preferred using a generic term like object. According to the researchers, Oumuamua was somehow ejected from a distant star system and was traversing through interstellar space. It deviated slightly from a path that could be explained purely by the Sun's gravitational pull because of what some of the researchers think was apparently a minuscule emission of gas from its surface. This would suggest that it was a comet, but any such emission was too slight to be detected. It also lacked a dust tail or gas jet that are telltale characteristics of comets. The researchers wrote that a straightforward explanation for Oumuamua is that it is a planetesimal, a planetary building block or a fragment of a planet that formed in a faraway star system. The composition of this mysterious object is still not known. It's hard to say whether it's just a rock or includes metal or other elements. But what if the UFO spotters and alien enthusiasts are right about these cigar-shaped entities? What if they're not just space debris or inanimate fragments from the far corners of outer space? After all, there is no way of confirming what these unidentified objects truly are and why they are shaped like long cylindrical cigars.